Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Magistas deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck is probably my favorite out of the entire Genesis Impact pack to be able to build a deck, because there's so much stuff that you can do with this deck, from throwing Shaddolls into it to playing it in Witchcrafters. There's so many different builds of this deck, and I am really excited to bring this one to you guys because I absolutely love the way this deck plays. It's really cool, and it's really awesome that you guys can just throw all sorts of different engines into this deck and make it work. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, where you have all sorts of awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hand. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Magistas Vir. Magistas Vir is a really cool card. She's actually Madame Vir from the Witchcrafter archetype. And if you guys didn't know this, it's actually combining 4 different archetypes together, from the Invoked archetype, the copies of the Witchcrafter archetype, and the Endymion archetype, and an unknown archetype that is a Flame archetype as well that we haven't got yet. It's actually combining 4 different archetypes together in one under the Citadel of Endymion, which is really cool. So what this card does is, if this card is normal or special summon, you get to activate one of these effects to either add a Magistas spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or return one of your banished level 4 or lower spellcast type monsters to your graveyard. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one Magistas monster you control and equip it with a Magistas monster from your graveyard, except a level 4 monster. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn, which is a really good effect, and she's probably one of the best cards in the entire deck. We then play 2 copies of Magistas of Flame. Magistas of Flame is really cool because you get to target one Magistas monster you control and equip it with one Magistas monster from your extra deck. And if this card becomes equipped with the Magistas card, you can special summon one level 4 spellcaster type monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except another copy of itself, but its effects are negated. You only use the effect of this card once per turn, and it's also a tuner monster, which helps us out quite a lot because you can go into a lot of different plays with this card. We then play 3 copies of Crowley, the Magistas of Grimoires. Crowley is really good in this deck because it lets you send a spellcaster type monster from your hand or face it from field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and then you can change its attribute at will by just declaring it. Like, I can change this to a water monster with my copy of my Endymion monster and go into Bahamut Shark, which I play in the extra deck, and get a Toad for free pretty much. And this card also has the ability that you can banish this card from your graveyard to target a Magistas monster you control and equip it with a Magistas card or Magistas monster from your graveyard, except another level 4 monster, which is a really, really good effect. We then play 3 copies of the Endymion, the Magistas of Mastery. This card is really good too because it's a water monster. Just like inherently it's good because it is a water monster. And it's overall really good as a normal summon because you get to target a Magistas card you control and equip it with a Magistas monster in your extra deck, and you can target one face-up spell you control, destroy it, if you get to draw a card as well, and then place one card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So it can help you just pop cards on your side of the field and get you additional plays, which is really good. And as you guys can probably tell, all of these cards work in their own archetypes as well, like Witchcrafters, the Unknown Flame, which we don't know what it is, Invoked, and Endymion. Like, all of these work in their own individual archetypes pretty well, which is kind of nice. We then play a Performage engine in here, which we're playing 2 copies of Trick Clown. Trick Clown is really good in the deck because it can be able to be used with your copy of Crowley to get you additional monsters on your field, where you can use like a copy of Crowley to discard this, send it to the graveyard, use its effect, bring it back, normal summon at your copy of your Endymion, make Bahamut Shark, or link summon into your copy of Artemis and go into plays there. Like, you have a bunch of different plays just with this and Crowley in hand, and this card is really good because you just basically have to send it to the graveyard and then you special summon it by at the cost of 1,000 life points. We then play a single copy of Damage Juggler, which Damage Juggler can be banished to add any of your copies of your Performages from your deck to your hand, like a copy of Hat Trigger. Hat Trigger is a good one of because you can special summon itself to your side of the field if you control 2 or more monsters, which is a really good effect in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. Ash Blossom is super helpful just to stopping your opponent's shenanigans, and is just an overall really nice card in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really helpful in the deck because Called by the Grave lets you stop your opponent's hand traps, especially when you're searching the deck in here. It's really important. You play a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is going to help out the deck a lot to get you additional Magistas monsters on your side of the field. One copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is going to help you out by sending stuff like Crowley and your copies of your Performage monsters to the graveyard to get their effects off. You play 3 of the Monster Reborn in Archetype card because this card is really good. It lets you target one of your your level 4 or lower Magistas monsters in your graveyard and special summon it. And if a Magistas card in your spell and trap card zone would be destroyed by opponent's card effects, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which a lot of your extra deck monsters actually give your monsters effects when they're equipped, which is very important. We then play 3 copies of the Magistas card that lets you equip them onto them from the extra deck. It lets you target one of your Magistas cards you control and equip it with one Magistas monster from your extra deck that's not a level 4. From your monster from your extra deck graveyard that's on your side of the field. And if you have at least one each of the Magistas Fusion, Synchro, and XZs and Link monsters in your graveyard, you can equip it with one non-Link or one Magistas that's a non-Fusion, Synchro, or XZ or Link from your extra deck instead, which is still pretty good to be able to equip any of the cards from your extra deck to that monster, which is a really good effect overall. I just like to usually equip the Magistas cards because they're going to get additional abilities. We then play 3 copies of Magistas Invocation because the Fusion monster is like one of the best ones to actually summon because it's going to get you so many different effects. You get to Fusion summon one monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as materials, and including spellcaster type monsters. And if a Magistas Fusion monster is summoned this way, you can also use monsters in your spell and trap card zones that are equipped to Magistas cards as fusion materials as well, which is really good because the fusion monster, in my opinion, is like the best one because it takes an opponent's monster. We then play 3 copies of Trice Magistas. Trice Magistas is insanely good. It's like one of the cards I always want to open up with because it has the ability that you can, the first time each Magistas card that's equipped with an equipped card would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed, and you can only use one of the following effects per turn. That during your main phase, you can special summon one level 4 spellcaster type monster from your hand, or send this face-up card to the graveyard to special summon any number of Magistas monsters with different names from your hand. So you can just dump your entire hand if you have multiple Magistas monsters with this card. Like you can upward summon a 4 cards on your side of the field, which is ridiculously good. We then play a small spellbook package in the deck, which is 1 copy of Secrets and 2 copies of Knowledge, because this is going to help you get cards into your hand by drawing them. So this is a really good package to play in the deck because you're going to get to send a spellbook card, either a spellcaster monster controller or one other spellbook card from your hand or field to the graveyard to be able to draw 2 cards, which is really nice. And then we play 2 copies of Spell Power Mastery, because Spell Power Mastery actually searches the Endymion card, and it's probably one of the best cards that you can actually draw into, and it just helps out a lot to be able to add an Endymion from your deck to your hand, because it's going to thin the deck a little bit. I wish there was other cards that just search every single one of them, but Endymion has the only real searcher in the deck, so I play 2 copies of Spell Power Mastery. I thought about dropping this card to play like 2 copies of Ghost Spell or 2 copies of Nibiru in the deck, but it's totally up to you what you play, but it just speeds up the deck a little bit. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the extra deck because we don't play any traps. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Artemis, the Magistas Moon Maiden. Artemis is really cool, and if you guys actually know Greek mythology, Artemis is known as, like, with the moon, so that's kind of cool. But what this card does is, basically you have to link summon this card by using a level 4 or lower spellcaster type monster, and if another Magistas monsters is normal or special summoned while you control that monster, you can target one of those monsters, equip this card to it, and then while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add a Magistas monster from your deck to your hand, and you only see the effect of this card once per turn, and you can only special summon this card once per turn as well. So it's basically your searcher of the deck. We then play 2 copies of the Magistas Spell Spirit. Spell Spirit is really good because basically this is in my opinion, one of the best ones in the entire deck because it's so insanely good. Like, it lets you take an opponent's monster, and then while it's equipped to a monster, that monster gains 1,000 attack, and then during the main phase, you can quick effect target one other Magistas monster on the field and equip this card to that monster. You can target one other face-up monster on the field and equip this card to it. And if this card is equipped to an opponent's monster by this effect, you can take control of that opponent's monster, but it can't activate its effects. But it also gains 1,000 attack because this card is equipped to it, so it just is going to give you a really big beat stick, which is why this is like my favorite one to actually summon. We then play 2 copies of the Glass Goddess. Glass Goddess is really good because it lets you, when it's equipped to a monster, that monster can attack twice during each battle phase on monsters, and it also has the ability that once on the field, you can detach a material from it, and then target one of your level 4 or higher spellcaster monsters in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. And then while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target one Magistas spell or trap in your spell and trap card zone and spell and trap your opponent controls and destroy them. So it's a really good card just to be able to pop cards as well. I then play a single copy of Varum, the Magistas Divinity Dragon. I just played one of this because I don't feel like I need it that much compared to the other 2. I feel like this is the to be honest with you, it's like the most underwhelming to me, because it has the ability that when it's equipped to, while this card is equipped, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by our opponent's spell or traps, which is okay. If it just said the equipped monster can't be destroyed by card effects, it'd be really good. And when it's on your field, you can only use the following effects of this card once per turn: that if this synchro summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls, which is really good. But at the same time, I have Borreload Savage, so I'm kind of like, one of this is fine. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster while it's equipped to it, you can destroy that opponent's monster, which is pretty good, just to be able to destroy a card. But at the same time, I feel like these two are a little bit better. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage. Borreload Savage helps out the deck a lot because it helps you equip one of your link monsters to it and gives you additional negations, which is why I play this card as a one-of in the deck. And it's just overall a really, really good card in the deck to play as a one-of, because you have so many link monsters that you play in the deck. We play a single copy of Access Code because Access Code can give you additional pops. Now, this is one card that I actually consider dropping in the deck. So if you guys are trying to make a little bit more of a budget deck, you can drop this out of the deck if you don't want to play it for something else, like a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. We then play a single copy of Unicorn because Unicorn gives us additional spins on the field, which is super nice. One copy of Selene, the Queen of the Master Magicians. This card is insanely good and actually is tied into the Endymion archetype. It's actually tied into this entire archetype, which is really cool. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think she is the Moon Maiden. Because if you notice, she has that braid right there and she has the braid right here. They actually look exactly alike, which is really cool. That might be the same person. But what she basically does is, if this card is link summoned, you can place any number of spell counters on this card. And then while Endymion is you can basically remove those 3 spell counters from her. For every spell counter, or every spell card in the graveyard, you could put a spell counter on her. And every spell card on the field, which this deck stacks up spell counters really fast. And you remove 3 spell counters from her, and then you can special summon a spellcaster monster from your graveyard and face up defense, which is really good. Just special summon any of your spellcaster monsters to your side of the field. One copy of IP, because it helps you go in your copy of Unicorn to be able to spin stuff. And then I play a Bahamut Shark and a Totally Awesome, because this card is really easy to summon onto your side of the field, because you can just use your copy of Crowley to be able to call it as a water monster, and then use your copy of Endymion to be a water monster naturally, and then basically you just overlay both of these that's now considered a water into Bahamut Shark, and then you get a negation of a Totally Awesome, which is pretty good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I'm going to try and do a Shadow build of this and maybe a Witchcrafter build of this as well, so be on the lookout for those as well, because I'm really excited to do those, and they will probably be coming very soon. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.